the basic services map. Public hearing on the Baltimore County Council will now come to order. We're now convening the public hearing via WebEx. We are holding this public hearing pursuant to provisions of the county charter, the county code, and the zoning regulations regarding the adoption of the 2022 Basic Services Map. I'll now read the rules of procedure for the public hearing. Since this is virtual public hearing, anyone wishing to speak should have registered online using the speaker registration form on the council's virtual sessions and hearing web page prior to the hearing. The link to this page is in the yellow alert box on the council's website. Each registered speaker will be permitted up to 3 minutes to speak. Director DeAndrea Walker from the Department of Public Works will now speak briefly on the proposed 2022 Basic Services Maps. Ms. Walker?
Good afternoon, Chairman and council members. Today I'll be presenting the draft Basic Services Maps for the public hearing. I am joined today by Lisa Eichels, who's our Bureau Chief for Engineering and Construction. We'll move to slide 2. Just for some background, the Basic Services Maps are part of the countywide master plan standards and guidelines relative to new development. These maps are updated annually per the county zoning regulations and include areas that are deficient in public water, sewer, as well as transportation. Building permits may be withheld or deferred in areas designated as deficient on these maps. On May 7, 2021, just for reference, Bill 3221 was signed and enacted by Baltimore County Council, adopting the revised maps for 2021. Those maps and the governing regulations associated with them can be found at our website here for Public Works. We'll move to slide 3. So each service has its own standard for determining deficiency. I'll go into more detail on the subsequent slides, but to put these in the simplest of terms, a deficiency in the water system is determined by measuring the water pressure at the nearest fire hydrant. A deficiency in the public sewer system is determined based on the capacity of the sewage area, and a deficiency in the transportation system is determined based on the capacity of the arterial and arterial collector intersections. We'll go to slide 4. Now we'll talk a little bit about the water supply. Deficient areas in the water supply system are determined by a failing fire flow test by a measurement of a residual water pressure at the nearest public fire hydrant. Fire flow testing standards are determined by the National Board of Fire Underwriters and currently constitutes a pressure of 20 psi for effective firefighting. The City of Baltimore is the owner of public water systems and performs these hydrant tests on a 9-year cycle. There are 14,536 hydrants in the county and 8,883 in the city. Fire flow tests can also be performed by request by paying a fee using the form on their website. It's important to note that the county does not currently have any known deficient areas in our water supply system. Move on to slide. Now we'll talk a little bit about sewer. We have several areas of special concern as it relates to sewer. Our, I believe we have 10 here. Richland Manor Water Waste Treatment Plant in Perry Hall. This area is defined as a deficient area. It should be noted that during heavy rain, the amount of wastewater that is treated at the plant significantly decreases and the water waste flows exceeds 80% of the treatment plant's reserve capacity. In accordance with MDE guidelines, the plant is considered as deficient during those heavy rains. That is why this area of Perry Hall is identified as deficient on this particular map. We'll still go back, yeah. We also have the Heron Run in the Parkville area that is identified as a special concern. There are 4 sanitary sewer overflow structures there, number 40, 41, 44, and 129 in this area. Again, during the heavy rain, the amount of sewage in the collection system temporarily overwhelms the sewer system, resulting in overflows into the Heron Run. Just for background, we are constructing a relief sewer system that is approximately 90% complete to help reduce the possibility of the sewer system becoming temporarily overwhelmed during those heavy rains. And then we also have one in Pikesville, and we have one in the Brooklyn area. We also have one in the Powder Mill area, as well as Cadensville. We have 4 sanitary sewer overflow structures, which are number 99, 116, 117, and 180, and 118. And we are also constructing a sewer relief in that area as well to help with the overflows. Those improvements, once completed, will reduce those, and those areas of concern will no longer be on this map. Now we'll talk a little bit about transportation.
Ms. Walker, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, when you say that once these improvements will be done, those areas will never be a problem, are you referring to Perry Hall as well?
Yes, in the Perry Hall area, I can tell you that we are also constructing a relief sewer there.
Right.
And
right.
the notice to proceed for that one was issued on 3/16/22. So typically, and that work will start the spring of 22. So typically when we do the construction, the overflows don't typically happen anymore because we've given it more capacity.
Right, that's the 4,600 feet of 8-inch sewer, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. Okay, thanks a lot.
Ms. Walker,
Yes, sir.
Councilman Patoka here. I have a question for you, 2 questions. Where is in Pikesville, you said there's a sewage deficiency. Where is that in Pikesville?
Marnett Road. There's one, Marnat Road.
Yeah, I know, yeah, Marnett, yeah. Yep.
And it's structure number 113.
Okay.
And in this one, we've completed a significant amount of rehabilitation here to try and reduce the overflows. Baltimore City needs to connect the relief sewer here to add the capacity before we can eliminate the overflow structure. So we're working in partnership with Baltimore City as it relates to this one.
Yeah, Marnett Road is right on the city-county line. The other question I have, what is the situation with the interceptor, the sewage interceptor under Lake Roland?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can get you some information back. But I also have Lisa. She may have some information, but I don't necessarily know that she would have it right off the top of her head.
That sewer has adequate capacity and it is not identified for the, to be shown on the area basic services.
Because I know that there was some discrepancy. I think a 2012 study by RKK identified some deficiencies there. And I think that has been disputed between DPW and the consultant.
No, it's not disputed between DPW and the consultant. It's the study required analysis of multiple storm events, and the only issues were identified under extreme wet weather conditions, not the normal conditions that we analyze.
I see. And just in the spirit of full disclosure, I'm just going to say that my wife works for RKK, but she has nothing to do. She doesn't do anything with sewage at all. That is not her area of expertise. But I just want to want to offer full disclosure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so as it relates to transportation, every signalized intersection in Baltimore County is evaluated for a level of service rating. Intersections on the basic map, basic services map are rated D, E, or F and they are evaluated every year. Due to COVID, some intersections we were not able to evaluate. There were 3 intersections in particular we were not able to evaluate. All the other intersections are evaluated every 3 years that are not E, D, or F. Just a little bit of background. The evaluations take place on a weekday, Monday through Thursday, during the AM and the PM hours, typically from 7 a.m. to and from 4 to 6 during our peak hours. The D, E, and F intersections are counted only when all schools, including college and universities, are in session. Our traffic count team evaluates the intersections by counting the traffic movements traversing through the intersection and the number of cycles and the number of load cycles. The loaded cycle percentage, also known as load factor, is the basis of the level of service graded assigned to those intersections. Just a little bit of background here. We will start to use technology to help us count those vehicles traversing through those intersections starting next year. We're purchasing some cameras so that we can stop using actual humans out at the intersections. It's better, it's more accurate to use the cameras, and it's safer to use the cameras. So we will change our methodology just a little bit in terms of how we count the intersections come FY23. As it relates to the basic services map for transportation, there were 12 F-level intersections and 1 E-level intersection that is being proposed on this basic service map during this hearing. Baltimore National Pike at Roland Road, Belmont Avenue at Kenworth, Bloomsbury at Frederick Road and Ingleside, Ebenezer and Pulaski Highway, Falls Road and Cemetery Avenue. And then we also have Falls Road at Joppa, Falls at Green Spring, Falls at Shawan, Frederick Road and Roland Road, and Joppa at Lock Raven, and Perrin Parkway at Putty Hill, and Joppa at Perrin Parkway. So that is a basic overview of the 3 basic services maps, and I'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Walker, for a wonderful presentation and entertaining those questions. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Mr. Secretary, are there any speakers this afternoon?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It's my understanding we have 3 speakers.
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was on
Yes.
mute and was trying to ask a question. I apologize for that.
Go right ahead, Councilman Batoka.
Sorry, I thought I was audible, but I was not. Just a question about Falls Road, because there are 3, I thought I heard at Joppa Road, which is in the 2nd, and then Seminary, which I think is in the 3rd now. It was, and then also at Shawan. So we have 3 intersections along the Falls Road corridor that have F-level intersections. How do we address that, Ms. Walker? Because it's all one roadway into the upper part of the county.
Good question, Councilman. What we started doing is having regular meetings. As you know, Falls Road, this portion of Falls Road is under the responsibility of the state.
Yes.
But then there's some sections of it that fall under the responsibility of the county. We started meeting with SHA to see what we can do, if it's signal timing or expanding the intersection. But we're starting to have regular meetings and be very intentional about how we get some of these failing intersections off of the list. But it requires a lot of partnership with the state, and we've started those conversations with the state to see which one, based on not just the capacity, but as it relates to safety, we should focus on first. As you know, we put a few of them on our CTP letter, but we're having regular conversations with them to see what we can do to improve those intersections.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Batoka. Any additional questions or comments from the members? Moving right along with the speakers, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I believe we have 3 speakers.
Ms. Belcastro?
Yes, Mr. Chair. In reviewing our list for the multiple meetings we have today, I believe our first 2 speakers inadvertently signed up for the hearing because they went and signed up for the work session. So I think they accidentally, they're not on the meeting. It was Jordan Harberger, who is not an attendee at this hearing, and Corey Johnson. They have signed up for another item on the agenda at the work session. I think they accidentally signed up for this hearing. So we only have 1 speaker for the hearing, and that would be Mr. John Gontram.
Okay.
Mr. Gontram?
Yes, am I now on, Ms. Hewitt?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you. Mr. Chairman and members of the County Council, my name is John Gontram, and I'm an attorney at Whiteford, Taylor, and Preston, here this afternoon on behalf of Terra Nova Ventures LLC, the contract purchaser of the Wilkins Rogers, Maryland property known as Ellicott's Mills. We wish to request an amendment to the 2022 Basic Services Transportation Zones map to exclude the Ellicott's Mills National Historic District, a defined area, from the failing traffic zone or traffic shed created by the intersection of Frederick Road and South Rolling Road. As part of the proposed redevelopment of the Ellicott Mill property, my client has conducted extensive traffic studies and traffic counts several times over the past year, not only of the traffic at the site of the mill, but also at the intersection that is failing, controlling the property and the National Historic District. In addition, we have received comments from the State Highway Administration indicating reluctance to do any improvements to the intersection, indicating that the failure of the intersection will continue to the foreseeable future, thereby eliminating any further development or redevelopment in this zone. The Ellicott Mills National Historic District is on the far western boundary of the zone. The traffic studies were done almost a year apart and indicate that the traffic has substantially declined on Frederick Road, perhaps due to more people working from home. And this is consistent with the county counts as well. Perhaps of greater significance is that the studies indicate that 80% of the traffic to and from Oella and Westchester roads in the National Historic District is oriented toward Ellicott City to the west and not toward Catonsville to the east. The National Historic District is over 2.5 miles from the failing intersection at Frederick and South Rolling Road, and there are 20 intervening intersections between that National Historic District and the failing intersection. The failure at that intersection occurs at the evening peak hour for northbound Rolling Road. And it is estimated that the proposed redevelopment of the Ellicott Mills Historic Site will add at most 1 vehicle every 10 minutes to the northbound Rolling Road portion of the intersection. In short, the traffic generated by the homes and businesses in the National Historic District have minimal impact on the intersection and its issues. However, by placing the National Historic District in the failing zone, the opportunity for restoration and revitalization of the businesses in the district is severely impacted. The county has adopted various exceptions to the maps for economic opportunity and job creation. It should consider the preservation and adaptive reuse of its historic districts as well, especially when the reuse has so little impact on the intersection in question. We appreciate your consideration of this map amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Guntram. Are there any additional speakers, Ms. Belcastro?
No, Mr. Chair.
Last call for any questions or comments from the members. Okay, this will conclude our hearing of the basic services map for 2022.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
yeah, I was unable to get my speaker on, but just, I guess John Gontram's gone, but Councilman Quirk, is that the intersection where the candlelight used to be and now it's a funeral home?
Yeah, the flour mill's, of course, right at the border of Ellicott City. The failing intersections referenced, there's, Rolling Road and Frederick. Yeah, it's quite a, yeah, we have a few challenges, but interesting enough too, in the commercial revitalization district in Catonsville, we have that exempted out, to really try to encourage redevelopment, especially in our older corridors. So it's a good question.
Thank you.
Okay. Additional questions or comments? This will conclude our hearing, the basic services map for 2022. Thank you very much.